This is today's business leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
All right, so I'm very excited today. We have Terry Ogburn back for a second time here on the show, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and business and systems and whatever other trouble we get into. So welcome to the show, Terry.
Oh, and thank you, Gabe, for having me back on the show. As you mentioned earlier, we had a lot of fun the last time, so I'm expecting us nothing but smiles and fun for this one as well.
Good, terrific. Cool. So just in case somebody didn't catch the earlier show, why don't you just give us a quick recap of kind of where you started and how you got here today, and then we're going to dive into talking about business systems.
Okay, just in a real brief, I started my business as a technician, an air conditioning serviceman. I made the same mistakes that most people do. They think because they can work on an air conditioner, they can open an air conditioning business. Well, you learn a lot when you start from the bootstrapping up concept. Well, that led to me discovering how to put systems and processes in place to make my job, my company run smoother. Ran for 10 years, and then I sold it to my employees, which is the best thing that a company can do. We had 12 trucks, 26 people. So, they know the people, they know the customers. It's an easy sale, and, it's a kind of a no-brainer there. I took the systems and things that I put in my business in 1985. I started taking them around and putting them in other business. Well, then I got snatched up by the corporate world because they started seeing it happen. And then it led into me going to help a company go public using the systems. Radio Shack, I worked for Radio Shack, Metrocall Paging. Some of the bigger companies in the world brought me in to do some turnaround stores and things like that for them. And then in 2005, when the economy started going south on us, I said, well, this would be a great place to jump in. So 12 and a half years ago, I started my company, helping small businesses, small entrepreneurs, little companies, because I believe these are the people that are going to turn this country around. It'll be there always have been the backbone of our country. Our country has been the small business guys. And I think we got pushed away a little bit. Now it's time to come back together and really take over like we should.
Yeah, I totally agree. I always tell people, I think there's one thing that can change the world, and that's entrepreneurship. It's definitely, you have the freedom to do what's right and do things the right way, which are related and different. And definitely very powerful if you're an entrepreneur and you can choose those type of things.
And you hit the nail on the head right there, because most people are so into get rich quick or cash flow, and they forget about the just the important things. So just joy and enjoying what you're doing, and not trying to get to the end of the world so fast. Just take your time and slow down, smell the roses, type thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think the ideal of entrepreneurship is freedom of time and freedom of money. And we sometimes get caught in the dream and we don't do the work. And sometimes we get caught in doing all the work and we're working so much we don't get to live the dream. So it's got to be somewhere in between both of those.
I totally agree. When I had air conditioning days, it was not uncommon for me to work 12, 14 hours a day. But you know what I realized, Gabe? Mm-hmm. I was only getting about 8 hours worth of work done. It was taking 12 to 14 to get done. No wonder I was exhausted, right, when I get home, right? So, and I know your audience is a lot like that because, of all of us being in the trenches.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned there was kind of spot on was time and money. The two things that we have control over in this world is time and money. The two things we don't control are time and money. We never have enough time to do the things we want to do, and we always spend more than we make.
Yeah.
My dad says if money had handles on it, we'd hold on to it.
Maybe. That would definitely be the ideal. What do you think is, when you walk into a business, you've done a ton of turnarounds, you've worked with huge, Fortune 500s and above, and you've done so many different things. When you walk into a business, how quickly can you tell if it's healthy and what shows you that it's healthy? And then on the other side, if it's not healthy, what shows you that it's not healthy?
Usually it's the team. I mean, I'm speaking walking into a group that has, some team. It's your team. I've always believed that if you walk into any organization, retail, wholesale, doesn't matter, and if you're being treated badly, then it's because the employees are being treated badly. Okay, so give you an example with Radio Shack. So they signed me my first store, so I'm there, and it's Tuesday morning, started Monday, Tuesday. Well, we had these little short buses pull up with these retired people, getting off, and they come in, they want their batteries checked. You can imagine what's going on. So the manager comes up to me and kind of stands beside me and goes, look, the night of the living dead. And I said, I can fix this store right now. And he goes, what's that? And I said, change your attitude. I said, these people got on a bus to come here. Why don't we run down the strip center here? Why don't we get some bagels and have some bagels and cream cheese here for a little coffee, make an outing for them.
Yeah.
Took 6 months to turn that store around. Now, it should have took a little sooner. Anybody's in business has said that. But now let me give you the perimeters I was working under. 3 towns surrounding it, okay? The average age of the 3 towns surrounding was 77 years old. So they dropped an electronics store right in the middle of this community, and then expected it to make a profit.
That's hilarious.
I don't think their marketing team did a good job on that one.
Not a good demographic study, that's for sure. Which you'd expect from a big company. You'd think like they should know how to do that, right?
Well, that's the reason that Lynn Roberts, myself, and a few others were brought in, because they didn't know what they were doing. They would just say, oh, we got an open strip center. Let's put a store in there, expecting their sign would draw them in. But, and that's one of the things that all businesses should have is a system in place for doing their due diligence, for doing their demographic study. I had a client I was working with they were pitching me on the idea. And so it was apartment building. The guy was going to build 2 apartment buildings side by side. In the middle, he wanted a little cafe type and a bicycle repair shop. So they're asking me my, advice on this, right? They're the ones that are going to get the bicycle shop and the cafe. Yeah. So I said, well, it's a good deal for the apartment guy, the owner of the apartment building. I said, but do a 5-mile study. How many people are have bikes, 10-speed bikes, that are going to come to that store? Oh, well, it's an industrial area. Then run. Don't walk, run, because where are you going to get your clients from? Okay. 32 apartments isn't going to sustain a business.
Wow. When you look at something like that, when you're doing a demographic study, obviously you've done a lot with retail space and with brick and mortar locations. Have you ever done that with digital companies?
Sure, it's the same thing. We just use a different term, but it's basically the same thing. We shape it down to what your demographic is, right? So, and then we add psychographics to that. Now, a lot of companies don't know what psychographics means, and maybe some of your listeners don't. Psychographics is, where does your customer hang out? What do they drive?
Gotcha.
Okay. Most of your listeners may know, but if I wanted to contact every Mercedes-Benz owner in the United States, I can do that. I can single out every Mercedes person owner and send directly to that, because anything's public record, I can have it.
Gotcha.
If I wanted all the Lexus dealers, if I wanted all the high-end dealers, doesn't matter. I can segment my list. One of my friends, the very first person I helped in business, he wanted to do a door hanging business concept. He's now the number one, he is the provider for Domino's Pizza advertising all over the United States.
Wow.
When somebody calls in and make the computer, that information is fed to his machine, his printer. He's got about a 45-foot printer. You can order your pizza from Domino's with black olives and pepperoni. I want mushrooms and sausage. We'll both live on the same street. We'll both get the same discount coupon. Yours will be on your product. Mine will be on mine. That's how sophisticated Domino's has gotten with their marketing.
That's crazy. That reminds me of like the stuff you read about Target. I never heard of a pizza shop doing it.
Huh? So used to, in the old days in the air conditioning world, we just singled out zip codes.
Yeah.
Give me that zip code, because I knew that. Don't give me that zip code. Nobody got any money over there. Don't give me that zip code. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So is there a rule of thumb or a way that you look at spaces and places like that? So if you're opening a retail shop or you're doing something digitally or online, if you would have chose the spot for that Radio Shack, obviously you would have gone for a younger demographic. That's pretty much a no-brainer with electronics, I would think, especially back then. But is there something where you say, okay, I want to do $1 million out of this store every year, I need this many people like in the area? Exactly. How does that work? How do you break that down?
Well, like I'm working with real estate, new people starting real estate business. So we have to know how many listings convert to sales.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So typically one listing produces 2 sales or 3 sales in a market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Sometimes it'll take 3 listings to make 1 sale.
Gotcha.
Okay. So again, you have to understand the market and how fast the things are selling. In retail, what you want to know is, can you turn your product over 4 to 6 times? Okay. If you can't turn your product in that neighborhood 4 to 6 times, then probably not a good demographic for you. Okay?
Over the course of a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. And we would run a store, $800,000, $600,000, $800,000 worth of merchandise. So if you flip that, 4 or 6 times a year, you'd end up with a $500,000 store.
Gotcha. And is there like a population count, or so if we said in this neighborhood, I'll go back to the pizza thing. In this neighborhood, there are 10,000 pizza buyers. We've determined some data that we know 10,000 pizza buyers. Does that then dictate? Do you have rules of thumb for that kind of thing, where you say, like, okay, like I should be able to grab X percent of the market, or
exactly
all the way through an example scenario?
Sure. In real estate, for an example, or boats. We were talking about boats earlier. Well, nowadays, people change addresses about every 7 years.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's all public record, so you can go into MLSs and you find out. Well, if houses are changed or people are moving every 7 years, you take a neighborhood for, let's say, 200 homes.
Mm-hmm.
That neighborhood is a $300,000 neighborhood.
Okay.
We know 28 point something people are going to move in that neighborhood. We don't know who's moving, but we know that.
Okay.
Now, if you can get 20% of that, 2 sides to a real estate deal, so that's 56 deals. You get 20%. If you can close 1 out of 5, be on one side of the transaction 1 out of 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
That produces X number of dollars for you at a 6% interest on your low splits or whatever you want to do. So you can back all into the numbers.
Cool. I like
everything about business is about something that I instow in every company I work with. And it's called a pro forma. And most businesses, most people, even in your audience, won't understand what a pro forma is. A pro forma is a forecast of the revenue coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But not just the forecast of revenue, but it's also the forecast of cost of goods, what it's going to cost you to produce that revenue, that variable cost, and your expenses.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, most of your listeners are going to be working off of a P&L.
Yeah.
P&L stands for past accounting. It's not future accounting, is it?
No, it doesn't do you any good when you're reading it.
No, at the end, you got a 20% loss and you're halfway into the next month. Well, guess what? You're halfway into another 20% loss.
Yeah.
Okay? So a pro forma works on a weekly basis. So you forecast what you're going to do the month of August, and then you put an actual column and you update it weekly. So your CFO of the company or the person in charge of the money can say, oh, well, we need to put more emphasis on marketing because we're not going to hit our budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Or our budget, like one client I was working with, we were looking at his pro forma one week, and he's got $4,000 expenditure in mail. I said, Ross, really? You spent a lot of money, $4,900 in postage. What did you send? He goes, I didn't do
that. Somebody did.
Well, somebody inputted the information there. So then I said, well, you need to call the bookkeeper and find out where this $4,000 really belongs, because something's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, if that would have slipped through,
jeez, That's a big change.
She could have just put the money right in her pocket and said, okay, I got rid of that. I buried that $4,000.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that would have never showed up on the P&L other than an expense item of postage, but you're not going to go through them and check it all out, but it's going to blatantly stand out in front of you. So that's a system that I recommend. It's easy to find out about it, Google. I tell everybody, like, I give you, and when I start working with someone, I tell them, listen, I'm going to give you 2 websites right now. And I promise you, if these 2 websites don't answer your question, I want you to call me first.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Google.com and YouTube.com.
That's right.
Okay. Now, guess why I want you to call me if you ask them a question and it doesn't come up?
You're probably not searching for the right thing.
You and I are about to make a lot of money.
That's right. Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. So now another thing that would be valuable to your listeners is along the process line, but we have to switch from being a salesperson, and we have to learn how to be a sales consultant. And these are two different people. A salesperson has commission on his mind. A sales consultant has repeat business on his mind.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Find them, keep them, and get them to spend more money.
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes it's like the simplest things that we manage to lose in all the busyness or craziness or, lack of knowledge. Because I don't think that what you just said about sales is the most revolutionary thing in the world, except for it's completely revolutionary when you do it.
Exactly.
But it's not that sexy or exciting. And so it doesn't catch people's attention, I don't think.
I got a client in Chicago, Gabe. He's a general contractor. Mm-hmm. Does big business. I don't know if you've heard of, these big high-end car dealerships, all these different things. Yeah. Anyway, so I've been with him now for 9 years. It's next month, 9 years. So now we're deciding that about a year ago, we decided to create an outside sales force. Mm-hmm. So I can imagine none of your listeners, nobody on this call has ever heard of somebody in a construction company going out and knocking on doors to get business.
Yeah.
Everybody in his organization thought I was absolutely crazy.
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure it's working or going to work.
It's working. No, it's already working. So the guy, he singled out one of his guys to be the salesperson. So I'm taking somebody brand new, no clay, it's all mounded clay for me, just kind of conforming. Okay, so he's telling me we went on a call with him, and the guy took over, the call. So Stefan stepped aside. So anyway, kept going. So the guy says, well, can you tell me how much square foot it's going to be to build this property? And Nick's response was, well, no, not really, because we need to go back to the office and get it together and put its figures together and make a good presentation for you. And so Stefan was telling me, Terry, that was really good. I said, no, it's just part of the process. I said, I'm proud of him. He's following exactly what we are. So I said, tell me a little bit about the deal. So the guy says, oh, well, it's a big multi-project that we can build in retail space and some living quarters above. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. And I said, now, Stefan, don't you have an investment company as well? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, don't you manage apartment buildings and all that stuff? He goes, yeah. I said, can't you just take that deal analyzer thing you use for them, put that same deal analyzer together for this guy? When you deliver the proposal back, you can not only deliver the proposal, but you can have a value-added proposition with him and tell him how he's going to make money, what's going to do, and all this kind of stuff. This man has both businesses, and he never connected the dots.
Wow.
Because he was, we get so laser focused on just getting the construction bid that we forgot we have this other company that can even manage the property for him.
Yeah.
And I said, if the people don't like because he's got 2 other investors in with him, if the other 2 don't want to take it up to this level, don't you have didn't we create a little group of investors for you when you need them? He goes, oh, I can get them to buy. I said, there you go. Now you bring in the investors into it.
Yeah.
So that's why people need coaches. Is so because we're not in the forest. We're not behind the tree. We got a vision of the forest. But if I hadn't known his business, I just said, yeah, just make your bid and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that that people, that at least for me, I've missed off and on over the years, but I'm getting better at it, is like, you're never going to solve all your own problems because you can't see them. Like I realized last week, I work with a few different coaches and consultants, and I realized something huge last week that has probably cost me $500,000 in the last 3 years or 4 years.
Wow.
Like just massive blind spot. And when I uncovered it, I was like, oh, and it had to be pointed out to me through a couple conversations, through some coaches, and through finally like going through the same stupid situation for the 4th or 5th time. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And there's just some things you'll never be able to see unless you hire a mirror and you hold that mirror in front of your face.
I'll also give you and your listeners a little system that I use.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I get ready to spend any money, okay,
mm-hmm.
where's that money coming from? It's coming from profit dollars, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, if you're working on a 10% net after taxes, and that's another thing your listeners are not doing, they're waiting till after they get their tax bill and then they pay it. Okay. So I can fix that. I know how to fix that problem real quick. But anyway, so you're working on a 10% net after taxes. Mm-hmm. So now you reached in your pocket and you pulled out $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay. How much money do you have to earn to get that 500,000 back?
5 million.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
So if you're about to make a $5,000 investment, if you can't see your 50,000 coming from it, then take a breath.
Yeah.
See how bad you really need to spend that $5,000.
Yeah.
You may be another alternative. There may be a way to get it done for less money, or maybe there's a way you can barter it or trade it or something. I don't know, but think about it from that aspect. You have to earn, 10 times the amount that you're going to spend.
Right. For sure. When you're either in like the season or mode of starting up and investing, or when you're farther down the road and you're in a reinvestment period and you're putting money back into the business, how do you gauge success during that period? Because I think it's easy, or it may be easy to get into the mindset of, I'm just investing, and you're not really measuring return on that. Like examples of investing to me are obviously getting investors, but that's not super common for a solopreneur or small business, or not successful anyway. You could get an investor. You can put things on a credit card. You can take your day job money and put it back in, or you can pay yourself less than you really should to reinvest. When you're in that investment period, how do you measure success against like kind of what you just said, where it's like, well, I make 10% profit or 20% profit or whatever that net is end of the day? That seems related to me. So how would you measure progress, and how would you know when you're headed the right direction, even though you're maybe in a heavy investment period? Does that make sense?
Yes. Good question. And your listeners are going to love this. There are 3 buckets: RGA, revenue generating activity. Okay. ROI, return on investment. Okay. And then activities. These are nothing. Okay. Yep. Okay. Now, in business, we have activities, paying bills, whatever, you got it. Okay. All right. So RGA goes first. So if what I'm doing right now, is it producing me money? Revenue generating activities.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, sometimes you're going to take your return on your investment. You're going to take money, you're going to invest in something. But you also, when you go to a bank and you do that in the old days, you would know you were going to get 3% on your money for some period of time.
Yep. In the old days. That's right.
Well, there's just sidebar, but there is ways to make money now. But I would never, ever encourage any person to take money out of their own pocket and put it in a business. I would never, in all my years of business, and I got over 40 years in business, and I would never have learned that from any person that I've ever worked with. None. It's called OP, Other people's money, OPM, other people's money. We borrowed, when we took that company public in Miami, we started by borrowing $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
That $50,000 got the 5 people into a condo, one condo, 5 people sharing it. And then we had a balloon note of the $50,000 due in 6 months. Well, he just borrowed the $50,000 to see if we could even make traction.
Yeah.
We saw that we were making traction. So then he went and borrowed 100, paid off the 50. Now we got a $100,000 note, but we still haven't put any money. We're making money now. Okay. So then we went and started buying up other travel agencies and started using that other 50 to start doing that with. Now we got saved. So it all was from other people. If I wanted to grow let's say you were in any retail business and I wanted to go and expand my business, I wouldn't open more stores. I would go buy stores.
Gotcha.
If 80% of the businesses are failing that are in business, so if you want a bakery, all you got to find is one. I mean, it's not shooting. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, right? I mean, 80 bakeries and within a mile of your store, 8 of them are going to fail. So just go pick it up for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
We did that in Uniglobe Travel. When I did that, we did that through, we called it mergers and acquisitions, but we had to convert travel agency. So we'd go and prove by flying our flag, putting our corporate name up there, that they could earn more money with our name up there than they could by their own name. Now, it didn't work in every case because our suppliers had to align with their suppliers. So if they wasn't using US Air or United, then we couldn't help them.
Yeah.
But if they were, we got extra kickback so we could contribute to their bottom line. Another thing you would do is when you buy businesses, a process that I like to use here. So if I was going to buy your business, Gabe, just for sale, and you want to buy, now it's Gabe Arnold something, isn't it? So you're attached to it.
No, I'm not.
But I'm just saying.
Exactly. I did that one time.
Your listeners are out there and they've got it. Terry's air conditioner, I know it, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So what happens there is if you want to buy a company that's named, because everybody's doing it, it's okay. But the good deal is that you say the guy wants $200,000 for his business. Okay. So you agree to pay him the $200,000 that you want, but he has to stay on until he's earned the $200,000. If he brings in any more business, then you'll be glad to pay him a commission or whatever that. You'll pay him a salary for him to stay there, but he's got to bring in the money necessary to get his, self out of there.
Wow.
Now, is it going to work every time? Of course not, but that's not what you're there for. You're just to find one person that wants to do business your way.
Yeah.
Let me sum it up. It's called the art of the deal. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? So I hope that answered your question. If you make like I did for podcasting, this would be I decided a year and a half ago to invest into podcasting. Well, you know that there's no return on investment there. I mean, or there's no RGA on that, right? And in hope there's a return on investment, right? So yeah. Here's what I explained to my virtual assistant. Out of this 18-month period, I sold 2 of my products. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay, being fresh in the game, just getting on podcasts for the first time, all that kind of stuff. So I sold 2 packages. Okay, yeah. So those 2 packages allowed me to make money based on my investment. Mm-hmm. So if I made 20% on my investment and I made 20%, then I'm good because it's only time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I couldn't have taken that money to the bank, put $5,000 in the bank and made 20%.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so it's relative when you're talking about return on investment, it's relative to what the terms of that return is and how it's coming back to you.
Yeah.
So a 20% return in 18 months is not a bad deal. Would you agree with me?
I would totally agree. That's definitely worth it.
Okay. So, but at the same time, you could take $100,000 invest in, and you may not see that return for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all relative of how you're going to park your money is what we call it. We park it. Okay. But I can tell every one of your listeners right now that there is plenty of money out there to borrow. That's what I do. I put business plans together so that these people can get funding.
Yeah. And then do you stay involved so that it's done well, or how, like, I guess on both sides of the equation, you've obviously done this many times, but on both sides of the equation, there's probably some fear or nervousness, or, you know, I think sometimes small business owners are like, I don't want another boss. I don't want an investor. And then, I mean, you obviously know how to get the resources to invest, but what are the risks or things to pay attention to as you start to explore that?
Well, the first thing you need a good, solid, comprehensive, keyword, comprehensive business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Most people turn in a sales and marketing plan.
Gotcha.
So if I have a stack of sales and marketing plans and I have a comprehensive business plan, I'm going to give my money to the comprehensive guy because I got a ton of these.
Right.
Okay. Now, the difference between a sales and marketing plan and a comprehensive business plan is when you pattern your business after the Federal Trade Commission. Think of it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Franchising, in order, if one of your listeners wanted to franchise their operation, they would first have to pass the scrutiny of the Federal Trade Commission.
Right.
You can't sell any scams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is find out what the criteria is for the Federal Trade Commission, and then you pattern your business just like it. It's not rocket science. We don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. The federal government has set a standard that they will not let another business buy another business unless they have these things in place.
Huh.
And there's only 11 states in this United States that agree on franchise law. That means 39 have different conceptions. So you got to position yourself in each state.
Jeez.
And I've been through all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I've also wrote a business plan for a foreign national coming into our country wanting an EB-5 visa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gabe, there's only 5% of the people in this business world that can even write a plan that would pass the scrutiny of Homeland Security. And I didn't know I was one of them. Okay. A lawyer called me up and asked me, can I write a business plan? Explained it all to me. And I said, sure, man, a business plan is a business plan. He said, well, I have to tell you that he's had 2 already and Homeland Security has turned them down.
Wow.
I said, well, did they send the document for the reason? And they says, oh yeah. I said, well, can I have it? Yeah. Okay. So he gives me the document. So I just want to fill in the holes, right? I want to figure out what the problem. Well, what they had done was they were going to, which an EB-5 visa is, a guy has to invest $500,000 into a failing company. Mm-hmm. And in 2 years, they have to employ 10 Americans, and it can't be family. Okay. That's the criteria. That's Homeland thing. Now you got to have all the pieces in place, right? So these 2 consultants or coaches or whatever they were, they went on the internet, phoned it in. See? So Sebring, Florida, 25,000 people, blah, blah. Well, Homeland Security gets in and goes, we don't need another restaurant. Right? Okay. So they call me. So I said, okay, I'll drive. So I drove there. Okay. And I started scouting the area, due diligence, what you're supposed to do. Go down there and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, according to the internet, it's a small little community, 25,000 people got. But what the internet didn't tell you was there was a new hospital being built with 450 people. There was a new factory being built with over 600 people. Yeah. And there was 8 subdivisions with houses coming out of the ground around 3 lakes in Sebring. Okay. Yeah. All with a 10-mile radius. And this store was the only store 6 miles next one. Well, take pictures, you do this, find the thing, put the supporting data together, put it all together. 2 weeks, got approved.
Nice.
So, and the plan had every job description in it. It had so this Homeland Security people could look at it and say, okay, this is how they're going. We showed in our pro forma how when we get to this stage of retail money coming in, we can add another person. Mm-hmm. And when we get to this much revenue, we can add another person. And we had it all staggered out in 2 years so that at the end of 2 years, they had their 10 people on board and they've done it. Now, will the guy follow the plan? In all honesty, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
We got the visa. That was it.
Gotcha. So if you're in the mode of investing in your own business with your own money, either from, not taking as much as a paycheck, or you put on your own credit card or things like that, and you're kind of stuck in that mode, how do you move people out of that? What do you do?
I have a case study for that. This was a guy that was on the internet selling hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Been in business about 2.5 years. Referral comes to me. So I get into, so I do diligence. I start talking. I spend a couple of hours finding out what you're doing so I can kind of help you. So anyway,
Right.
I spent some time. So we start going through the numbers, and it turns out for 2.5 years, Gabe, he's been selling his hearing aids at a loss.
Jeez.
Okay. And he said, that can't be true. And I said, it is true. And he says, well, and I said, let me explain to you. You borrowed money from your equity in your home.
Mm-hmm.
You then started putting money on credit cards, and you started playing this credit card home equity bounce the ball concept. And every time you get low here, you go get some money here, pay off this deal and there. And now 2.5 years later, there's no more wells to go to.
Yeah.
And calling me. He goes, you have a camera? And I go, no, it's typical business.
Right.
Okay. Now, so let's do a cost analysis on your product. So we did it. So he was going to have to go up on his product $100 to make a profit. And remember, I want to make 10% after taxes.
Right.
So we had to go up on his profit. We go on his product price up $100. Terry, they will never pay. I said, yeah, if you don't put it out there.
Yep.
I said, so what is it going to hurt? How long is it going to take you to change your price point on your sheet, on your website, and make it happen? Well, hour or so. I said, okay, make it happen. Guess what happened within 1 hour after he fixed his website?
It sold.
He had put himself into this limited belief because he wouldn't pay any more than $495 for his product. He didn't feel anybody else would pay. So I tried to explain to him, what's the difference between Nordstrom's and Walmart? They both sell pants, don't they? Okay. Why is Nordstrom in business if Walmart can sell them at 3 times cheaper?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, Nordstrom does something different. What do they do? Well, they add value. So when you pull up in front of one of their stores, there's a little lady comes out or a guy comes out, ushers you out of the car, gets you a little drink, gets you champagne, and the women love it.
Yeah.
They're just pampered for the whole shopping day. Do you know who Disney thinks their competition is?
No, I don't.
Nordstrom's.
Really?
I'm serious. There's a book that they wrote. There's a book that's out. It's called the Secrets in the Magic Kingdom. I have it over there, but basically it's the secrets of, and what they'll tell you is that their competition is not Universal Studios or another theme park. They want the guest experience to be the absolute best that they can make. You been to Disney World or Disneyland?
Not in a long time, but we just went on a Disney cruise with an Adventures by Disney hat on.
Well, if you some of your listeners may remember, they're in Main Street, they're hitching posts in front of every store to symbolize Main Street. Do you know that those posts are stripped and painted every night after the guests leave?
Holy cow, I didn't know it was that often. I've seen how they turn over the ship, which is crazy. I got up at like 3 a.m. one night and couldn't sleep. It's insane what they're doing. All completely quietly.
Very cool. And Disney has these little one-man elevators, so they can pop up, clean up. Every person in Disney, every position contract or every job description says custodian. Every person, CEO on down, everybody has to clean up. If they see a mess, they have to clean it up. And if they can't clean it up, they have to summon somebody to clean it up. They have to stand over it, make sure that it doesn't spread any further. That's how much detail when they do, and these are all systems I know we want to talk about, but detail is a system. When they put the presidents together, the president room or whatever, every piece of clothing that's on those mannequins or whatever is stitched in the material and needles and stuff that was used in that time era. So in other words, George Washington, his thing is the needles and stuff and the material and everything is used was in the 1700s. That's how authentic they make it. Okay. Yeah. So that's a message to our listeners here is pay attention to detail. Another thing that we didn't get a chance to touch on, but one of the main systems in a business is an organizational chart.
Yeah.
Job descriptions. Your listeners are going, Terry, it's only me. No. There's accounts payable, there's receivable, there's this, that, and the other. You have to take and fit your business around all the positions that are there. Mm-hmm. Now, the good news is when you create your job descriptions for these positions, then you get ready to hire somebody, you already know what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have to stand around and kick dirt trying to figure out what they should be doing.
Yep.
I'm hiring you to do this, this, and this. Stay on the paper.
That's definitely the detail work and the hard work and the time-consuming work. But when you have that in place, then everything runs. Everything works the way it should.
Another great key that you said. It is difficult in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But once you get it created, it's tweaking.
Yeah.
Think of it as the space shuttle. When it lifts off, it takes a lot of thrust to get past the Earth's gravitational pull, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. But once it gets out past the atmosphere, how easy is it to steer? Like this.
Minuscule. Yeah. Teeny amounts of energy.
I love the movie Gravity when she was using a fire extinguisher in space. I mean, that would be, I mean, it could be
totally possible. Yep.
That's total, right? I mean, because that little burst would, it'd probably send you to the other side of the galaxy. Anyway.
That's a great example too, because it's like the amount of effort and time and cost and technology and everything it's taken to get everybody into space. And then, like you said, you're out there and you're cruising. And it's like, and that's definitely business. There's certain hurdles and things you got to get over. There's certain skills you have to learn. There's all these things. And then you'll start to feel the momentum and the motion, and then you'll be cruising. And then it's a matter of maintaining it, make sure the fuel tank stays full and like simple things like that, right?
Exactly. Like I have a funnel that I share with my clients. The funnels are unique. It's not a typical funnel like most funnels are. You can getting to know me. If it was going to name the octopus, it'd be a ninopus. We'd have another leg on it. You get it. Okay. No, dead air now. Anyway, I have 4 things here for your, as I promised you, that I'd like to give you and your team these 4 things. And if they'll do these 4 things on any project, Gabe, okay? The first thing is they got to commit. Burn the boats. No looking backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, once you have that commitment, then you have to put disciplines in your life to make sure that the commitment, you stay on target for your commitment.
Yeah.
So that means if you got to get up an hour early, that's a new discipline in your life to get things started. And don't, make sure you do that. Then you have to make decisions. Third thing is the decisions that you're making right now, are they leading towards your commitment? And if I give every one of your listeners permission to procrastinate, because all of us like to procrastinate. Wouldn't you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all do. Sure.
Okay. So I'm giving you permission. I'm giving the whole audience on the things that don't take you to your goals. So procrastinate on those dishes that need to be done. Procrastinate on that washing machine that needs to run. Okay. Focus on your goals, and then you'll have plenty of time for the other stuff. And then the last and most important piece to this puzzle is visualization. I get every one of my clients to find someone to emulate. My terminology is sometimes you're the smart one in the dumb group, and sometimes you need to be the dumb one in the smart group.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with coaches and with people, and hire the right people to do the right job. It saves you time and money rather than getting somebody that thinks they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So we hired this guy, and so I said to him, okay, I'm going to come up with a test for your field supervisor training manual. I'm going to come up with a 25-question test. Wouldn't it be interesting to know if your field supervisor could pass the test?
Yeah.
When I had in air conditioning world, I had 3 tests. You come in and interview with me. You wanted to be an air conditioning technician. You have to pass the air conditioning test. You wanted to work on refrigeration. You have to pass that. You wanted to work on appliances. You had to pass that. That just got you to fill out the application.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to waste time you filling out an application if you couldn't pass the test.
Yep.
And it wasn't hard stuff. It would be just simple things that you would expect somebody other than a parts changer, because that world is filled with a lot of people. Oh, this is broken, Gabe. Let me just put you a new one in it. Then they call 3 days later. It's not working again. Well, yeah, because this part that took this out took it out again. Anyway.
Yep. I repaired my air conditioning a few weeks ago, and they actually diagnosed it right, and it worked great. And then I had something else repaired at my house, and they didn't diagnose it right. So it's you're completely right. You can have basic knowledge or fragmented knowledge, and that's not necessarily who should fill that role. They need to have more knowledge and more training to actually do things the right way.
I got another system for you that, or process from the air conditioning world. This will work in anybody's world. So you said you just had your air conditioner fixed. So let's say that you call me out there and I told you it was a bad fan motor. It's $200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Okay. So we go on and I give you a year guarantee, which is another little thing that nobody else did, but I give you your guarantee. So 6 months later, the air conditioner not cooling, you're calling me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you call me. So I come out there and sorry, Gabe, fan motor's working fine. It's this other piece here that's broken. How much is that, Terry? That's another couple $100. Well, wait a minute now. With 2 together, I could have almost bought another one, right? And I go, yep, you're right. So here's what I want you to do, Gabe. I want you to find the best price on the best piece of equipment that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the model number and the price. I will match the price and give you the $200 you spent for the fan motor. Okay. Now I lost on that deal, didn't I?
Yeah, but you took care of them.
But you know how many customers I would get from that? Okay. I still made enough. I still got my labor and I still got a little bit. I mean, I still didn't lose all. Okay.
Right.
Plus I had the old machine that I could fix, tweak, do something with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Scrap it if nothing else.
Right. Get a few bucks out of it.
Yeah. Okay. But I had a customer for life.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like they got ripped off. Somebody at work said, oh, my air conditioner, call Terry.
Yeah.
Jump right. Okay.
Wow. That's a great example.
Another little quick one, and I know we got to go, but in the car business, when I was in the car business, before I went in the air conditioning business, I was fired out of the car business, is the part of our earlier story. But so when I was there, I bought a bottle of champagne for every delivery. Mm-hmm. So if you and your wife show up to pick up your car, Gabe, before you leave, here, I got something for you. Here's a bottle of champagne for you.
Yeah.
Now, my thought was you weren't going to take your car home. You're taking it somewhere to celebrate.
Yeah.
Like mom's house, the beach, someplace. So what better way to remember me by but than a bottle of champagne?
Yeah.
Celebratory.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, do you think most people understand the difference between a 50-cent glass of champagne and a $5 glass of champagne? No.
Probably not. And in that case, it actually is the thought that counts.
Exactly.
Yep.
That bottle was costing me $2.32 a bottle.
Yeah, it was the best money you probably spent.
Can you imagine the impact that had for years later?
Yeah.
But anyway, little things that we can do that just sets us apart. People say to me, "Oh, Terry, you want us to stand out." No, I want you to be outstanding. Stand out is more ego-based. Outstanding is more humble-based.
I like that.
I know we went way over time, man.
No, you're completely fine. This is fantastic. So we'll bring it to a close, and we will absolutely have you back in because these are some of my favorite conversations, and they're my favorite because they're just super practical and extremely valuable things that people can do to be.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for having me back on. And I love, you can see, we're on camera, so I smile. I love what I do. I love every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. So where can people find you? And what you mentioned before we started that you had a little offer that I definitely would like you to share with everybody.
Okay, good. And you can reach me at terryogburn.com. It's very simple. Terry Ogburn, OGBURN.com. Very simple. I suggest all of you check out my testimonies. Look at that. There's also a contact us button over there. You drop down box. Put your name and address in there and a challenge that you may be having. And I'll be glad to sit with any one of your listeners for an hour. No sales pitch, just a complete roll up our shirt sleeves, solve a problem.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I highly recommend everybody take advantage of that. You will not get better advice on how to do business the right way than with Terry. And just thank you so much for sharing all your value here today, Terry. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.